Good morning. Just in relation to a question that was asked by a seminar participant, I want to give you a small snippet of one of the sections or modules of the seminar. And to the right of me I have a flip chart, so I'll be just looking a little bit to the right to actually refer to some of the material that's there. But essentially what I'm going to give you this morning is one of the biggest secrets in the whole world for a Monday morning. And the biggest secret in the whole world, as I've articulated here, is your ideal life and self, the life of your childhood dreams, the you that you aspire to inhabit, is still underneath the fictional construct that you call your life and is waiting to be discovered and has always been there. It's the perfect you, and it's everything you ever wanted to be. So by becoming aware, very simply, to begin, when you're in sense and when you're in nonsense, similar to C.S. Lewis and Alice in Wonderland, if you've read or seen the Alice in Wonderland films, by becoming aware of when you're in sense or when you're in nonsense, you can get back to that life that's beyond anything that you've imagined for yourself. So nonsense and sense, what's sense? Well, essentially everything that's in our head, every logical construct, no matter how smart we are, is nonsense. And everything that we feel, understand, comprehend through intelligence that we have, not through our head, but say we're just that knowing, which is in our body, sense, hearing, sight, taste, feel, sixth sense, intuition. So that's sense. But most of us live in nonsense. And the nonsense is a small self. It's a cultivated, conditioned self that that our mind has become through assumption and presumption and the introjection of logic, of information. And I don't call knowledge and information is not necessarily wisdom or understanding. And the mind is amazing, an amazing tool, but it is used like a surgeon's scalpel, not as a storage press. And the mind used as a tool, as a surgeon's scalpel, is an incredible tool for self-reflection, where it's almost like one of those computer bots, or a Google bot that goes right through the whole system and actually finds and interprets and pulls out information in response to things that you've asked for. And this is a universal intelligence at work. But the mind was meant to be a storage press because it gets clogged up. And it's like that old Zen saying of the monk pouring the water into the cup, and the cup is just getting fuller and fuller and it's overflowing. And when you're overflowing with knowledge, there's not necessarily any understanding and knowledge, and with no room for anything else. So the more empty you become, the more unlimited you become, the more access you have to unlimited understandings that don't necessarily come from your head or even anything that you've experienced before. You can tap into other sources of knowing and understanding. And that's the big self, that's the unlimited self. The small self is the mind, but the mind is a fear-based mind. And we get caught in that small mind. And the big mind versus the small mind are the exact opposite. And you see the way I use my hands here, it's like a polarity. It's the polarity of reverse positive, or reverse negative polarity, or positive creative polarity. So generally speaking, probably absolutely, in our lives we're either moving towards what we want or we're moving away from what we don't want. So we're in avoidance all the time. Everything that we do every single day is in the avoidance of things we don't want. The avoidance of having no money, the avoidance of not having a status, or not having work that we consider to be prestigious, or not having enough money, or not having a lifestyle we judge to be adequate, commensurate for what we think we are. So it's a small fear-based mind, whereas the open, unlimited mind is a mind that has confidence and that has trust. It doesn't seek to grab, doesn't seek to hold. So in a moment, what I'll do with the next slide is I'll give you the contrasts of what living in the small mind is like versus living in the big mind. And they're just opposite. One is a negative polarity, one is a positive polarity. And they're both opposites of the same thing, but they're worlds apart. So I'll start with each one, and in comparison I'll give you big mind, whole mind, unlimited, universal mind versus small mind, and the kind of characteristics that you experience living in big mind versus living in small mind, and you'll recognise them instantly. And it's not that we live initially entirely in a big mind or in a small mind. We can fluctuate. Sometimes we're feeling exuberant, confident, very energised, and with faith and trust and less fear. We'll touch off the big mind. And other times when we're in a retrospective, backward, fear-based something, or when we judge things are not going well for us, we'll go into the small mind. And essentially, in bringing those two minds together, we actually transcend them. And we go into something called unity consciousness. And within that unity consciousness, it doesn't have those poles, those swings and roundabouts. It simply is a holistic mind, a whole mind, that has access to everything and is less concerned with the labelling and judging of our experience rather than the inhabiting of our experience and the expansion of our experience through our resonance and our consciousness. And within that resonance and consciousness, when it's allowed move and do what it does, unhindered by the fear-based mind, we touch the divine, we touch the universal, unlimited, in which everything is possible. Everything that you want is possible. Everything that you know, and people say, I can say you can have everything you want. Mostly what you want, when you get down to it, is one or two things. But when you get to the place where you don't actually want anything. What I said to somebody recently is, I have nothing to sell you. I have nothing that I wish to sell you. And actually there's nothing that I want. Literally nothing that I want.